Hello, everyone. Today's lesson is going to be the unit test 2 review. I often get the question, how can my son or daughter do a better job on these tests and quizzes? And really want to focus on these unit reviews. Okay, so the sample tests or the study guides, whatever you want to call it, is what we're going to focus on today in this video. So have your unit 2 test out, and I'm going to go through the entire thing and make sure that you circle the problems that you're having troubles with and ask questions at the end. I really want you to focus on what this study guide is. There's a lot in this unit 2. Unit 2 has a number of topics, and this practice test, this unit test review, will help you focus for the unit test. All right, so let's get started. That was a little pep talk for you. Let's get rolling. Okay, so we have 4 pages of the practice test. The first page is 3 graphs. And notice I don't really tell you how to graph it. So you basically can graph it however you want. Okay, so we have graphed using a table. We have graphed using slope and intercept. We have graphed using our X and Y intercepts. So all of those are available for you to use. So again, you could use a table, you can use your slope intercept, or you can use an X and Y intercept. Number 1, Y equals X divided by 3 minus 4. Okay, so for this one, I look at this X over this whole equation here, and it's in slope intercept form. So I can tell you right off the bat, the slope is going to be 1 over 3. 1 over 3. And the intercept happens to be at -4, the y-intercept, -4. So that tells you this, and this is actually a 1 in front of the x. 1/3 is the slope, or the rate of change. Okay, so I'm going to use the slope-intercept method for the first one. So I'm going to start at -4, down here at -4. And then I'm going to apply the slope from there. So this is my first point. This is the first point, indicates this area right here. Okay, so the y-intercept's at -4. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that out so you don't see it. So what I'm going to do now is apply the slope. The slope is a rise of 1, run of 3. Okay, so 1/3 is the change. So up 1 over 3. So 1, up 1 over 1, 2, 3, and then put another stop off point there. And I would just put another one in, 1, 1, 2, 3, get another dot in there. Up 1, 1, 2, 3, got plenty of stops here, and you can just line them all up and extend it out for your line. Okay, so this is using the slope and intercept method for number 1. Y is equal to 1/3 x minus 4. All right, let's move on to number 2. Oh, here we go. X equals -1. Now, these horizontal vertical lines, we had kind of a go-to for sure method to never forget how to graph these. For instance, and this really involves a table. Okay, so X and Y. Basically, we can just put a few points on this line. So anytime that we pick, we're going to have a -1 for our X. Okay, so any Y, 0, 2, 4, you're going to have -1 for your X. Okay, so all of these 3 points is using a table. All 3 points are going to be located at this vertical line, -1, 0, -1, +2, -1, +4. You can see all these points are located at x equals -1. Okay, so that's a technique that we used. Another one, we'd say, well, any y along this y-axis, you'd have x equals -1. So either way, you've got yourself a nice vertical line at x equals -1. Number 3, y equals negative of x plus 8. Negative of x plus 8. Okay, I'm going to do 2 methods here. I'm going to use my table, okay, x and y, and I'm also going to use my slope and intercept. Okay, so my slope for number 3 is -1, or in other words, -1/1, and our intercept is 8, +8. Okay, so I'm going to use this method, plus I'm going to use this little table I've just started over here. So if I put x in for 0, I have 0, -0, 0 plus 8 is 8. If I put x in for 1, the negative of 1 would be -1 plus 8 is +7. If I put x in for 2, the negative of x would be -2 plus 8 would be +6. So now you can kind of see where this goes. You're at 0, +8, 1, +7, 2, +6, and you can kind of see those points develop, okay, for that line. If you use the slope-intercept method, you would have a intercept at 8, so up here at this point, this 8 here, and you would apply the slope of -1. So that means you're going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and you're going to have yourself a nice line going up through that first quadrant and down. So a couple different ways to graph. Notice that the directions at the top, it just says to graph. So you don't need to have a particular way of graphing. You just have to have a knowledge. You could use your table, slope intercept, which is my favorite, or x and y intercepts. So I would expect for the Unit 2 test to have similar types of graphs coming on the upcoming unit test. Okay, page 2, number 4. Notice 4, 5, and 6 are all related to our friend, the slope. Okay, so slope, which is m, rate of change. Okay, rate of change is the slope. So let's move forward with this rate of change question. Now, I would just want to make sure that you're aware the sign is going to be very important. You get the sign correct. So like on this first one, you can see it's going uphill from left to right. So you've got a positive slope for number 4. And I'm going to start down here at 1, -1. I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to go run over 2. So I have a 4/2 slope, which is the same as 2. And it is positive slope. So make sure that you get the sign correct with regards to these slope questions. Number 5 is a vertical line. And we all know that vertical lines have an undefined slope. Undefined. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. This has a slope of undefined. Okay, so number 5, undefined slope. Number 6, we have a little cross section of a home here, and you can see it's a roof. The pitch of a roof is the same as slope, We've talked about this before in our classes. So if you look at this, as it says, carpenters refer to the slope of a roof as the pitch of the roof. Find the pitch of the roof. Okay, so the slope in this case will be the rise of the roof, which is 4 feet, over the run of the roof, which is 12, which is equal to 1/3. 1/3. Now in construction, they refer to that as a 412 pitch. They don't refer to it as a 1/3. But today, if you're simplifying, you'd want to simplify it down to 1/3. So you're going to be asked slope. And if you have these nice graphs here, you can use your rise over run. You could also use the formula, which is the difference in the y's divided by the difference in the x's. Okay, so we'll have some practice with that in later questions on the practice test study guide. Number 7 is also a slope question. It says the equation of a line is y is equal to 6x minus 5. Write the equation of a line parallel to this line. So you get to choose what the equation of a line that's parallel to this line. Okay, so if it's parallel, you're going to have the same slope. So that word parallel is going to mean that you're going to have the same rate of change. Same slope. So whatever you choose, you have to have a slope of 6. In this case, 6. That 6 is the slope. Excuse me. So what I'd make it really simple. Y is equal to 6x. Then instead of minus 5, I'm just going to put plus 5. Excuse me. So I've got a same slope of 6, and I just changed the intercept from a minus 5 to a positive 5. So I've got an equation of the line that's parallel to this line. And that would be your answer for number 7. Eight, 9, and 10, identifying the slope and the y-intercept of the graph. Okay, so we're going to focus on our slope-intercept form, m times x plus b. And for number 8, you can see the slope is 20. M is 20, and the intercept is 15. So fill that in. Number 9 and 10, it's not as obvious. We have to do a little work to get the equation in slope-intercept form. So for number 9, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And I have an equivalent equation. Y is equal to 3x plus 9.4. That tells me my slope is 3 and my intercept is 9.4. So you might have to do a little algebra there to get the equation in slope-intercept form. Number 10, negative 1/2 x plus 2y equals 7. Negative 1/2 x plus 2y equals 7. Okay, so let's move ahead with this one by trying to get the equation into slope-intercept form. First thing I'm going to do is add 1/2 x to both sides. And that enables me then to have 2 times y is equal to 1/2 x plus 7. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then multiply both sides by 2 in order to get rid of this fraction. Both sides by 2. That enables me to have now 4y equals x, 2 times a half is x, plus 2 times 7 is 14. Final step, divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. And your equation now in slope-intercept form would be the 4's cancel. Y is equal to x over 4 plus 14/4, which is equivalent to 7/2. Your slope then is this 1/4, and your intercept is 7/2 for number 10. So that was a little tougher question. You solve for y, get it into slope-intercept form. Easy to understand then where the slope is, the 1/4, and the intercept is 7/2. And that's page 2. So moving on to page 11, or number 11 on page 3. The next 3 problems, we are asked to write in slope-intercept form an equation of the line that passes through the given points. Okay, so I got 3 problems here that we are given 2 points on the line, and we are asked to determine the equation of the line. All right, so we got pretty much this method is we need to find the slope. All right. And once we have the slope, then we can either use the y-intercept, slope-intercept, or we could use our point slope form. So majority of these types of problems, 11, 12, and 13, we found the slope and then we use point slope form to start the equation. And then to find the answer in slope-intercept, we just convert it to slope-intercept. All right, let's do number 11 first. The slope of these 2 points would be -3 minus 5 divided by 3 minus -1. -3 minus 5 is -8. And +3 minus a -1 would make it adding a +1, which would be 4. So that gives you a slope of -2. Okay, again, -3 minus the 5 divided by 3 minus the -1. Slope is -2. Okay, so then we're going to use the point slope form to get it started. And how that works is that you're going to have y minus the y from the line is equal to the slope times x minus the x from the line. Okay, so that's the relationship that we've used in the past with these problems. So this problem, I'm going to copy it and I'm pulling it down for here for this problem. And I'm also going to pull it down to here for this problem. Okay, so that's the formula that should be in your notes, and you should have a good understanding of how to use it. Okay, so all right, so back to this. So I'm going to use this first point, this x, this is going to be the x of 1, this is going to be the y of 1. So my start of my equation would be y minus the y, which is 5, is equal to the slope, which is -2, times x minus the x of 1, which is -1. Okay, from here on out, we're going to go right into solving into slope-intercept form because we need to get it into slope-intercept form. So the first step is this distributive property. Y minus 5 equals -2x. And this is subtracting a negative, so this is a +1, but we're multiplying by a -2, so that's going to be a -2. -2 times a +1 is a -2. Now, final step, add 5. Add 5 to both sides. And by doing that, you have y by itself on the left side is equal to negative 2x, there's your slope, plus 3. So your final answer would be y is equal to the slope, negative 2, times x, plus 3. And I would circle your answer for that one. So again, find that slope first. Use your point slope formula to get the equation started and your algebra skill to convert it to slope intercept form. Number 12. Negative 4, 1, 4, 3. All right, let's get the slope first. Slope is equal to 3 minus 1 divided by 4 minus negative 4. Three minus 1 is 2. 4 minus negative 4 is 8. 1/4 is the slope. Okay, we're ready to use our relationship here. Point slope form. We have the slope. Let's put that in. And we'll go y minus the y. I'm going to pick this y right here, which is the 1. I always usually like to pick the first one to be consistent. Y minus the 1 is equal to the slope 1/4 times x minus the x of 1, which is negative 4. Okay, you've got your equation all ready to go. Let's convert it now to slope intercept form. Here's your first task, is to use your distributive property, y minus 1 is equal to 1/4 times x. And this is a positive 4 now, but then you take it times 1/4. So you're going to be adding 1. Adding 1. And then your final step, add 1 to both sides. And that gives us y is equal to 1/4 x plus 2. Y equals 1/4 x plus 2. And that would circle your answer for that one. I just wanted to move that down a little bit so you can see how I did that last step. So we're writing equation slope intercept form, starting with 2 points. Okay. All right, last one for this. Some of you probably are thinking, oh, goodness gracious, I'm glad we're done with this portion of the practice test. This is going to be a little bit tougher part. You got to work through the algebra, do whatever you're doing to one side, do to the other. Just take your time, and you'll do just fine on this section. Okay, number 13, slope. All right, slope is equal to 1 minus 5 divided by -1 minus -2. Okay, 1 minus 5 is -4. -1 minus -2 is +1. So your slope is -4. Slope is -4. Okay, you've got your relationship all ready to roll here. Let's go ahead. Y minus the y. I'm going to pick this 5 here. Okay. The next one, I'm going to use -2. So this is y minus the y of 1, which is 5, is equal to the slope, which is -4, times x minus the x, which is -2. Next step, we'll use this distributive property, y minus 5 is equal to the slope, -4 times x. And then we've got a subtracting a negative again, so you're going to add +2, but then you're going to multiply it times the -4, so that gives you a -8. -8. And your final answer here, let me make that 8 a little bit better. Okay, final step, add 5. Add 5. And you end up with, I'm just going to write it right in here, y equals the slope -4 times x. And this is -8 plus 5, which is a -3. And circle your answer for that one also. So those 3 questions took a little longer, 11, 12, and 13, writing the equation in slope-intercept form by given 2 points. So it's fairly simple. You got to find that slope first and then use your point slope form to get it started and then convert it to slope-intercept. All right, word problem for number 14, 15, and 16. Now, before I move on, you might want to also consider checking your equation with the point. So if you look at this equation for number 12, for instance, you've got an x that's 4, y that's 3. So if you inputted 4 in for x, you'd have 1/4 times 4, which is 1, add 2, you'd get 3. So you can see how that would check out, all right? You could also check the other one. -4 times 1/4 is -1, plus 2 would be +1. So to check your work, just simply take your point, plug them in, and see if you end up with the equation that is in your answer box. All right, just a little check help for you on that. All right, 14, 15, 14, 15, and 16. We're going to have this little graph here, and we got this word problem. Okay, so when you're thinking of word problems with this section, you want to think of your slope as rate. Okay, they want us to find an equation in 15, and then they're going to ask us a question about 800 miles. Okay, so it costs $40 to rent a car for 1 day. In addition, the rental agency charges you for each mile driven, as shown in the graph. Okay, so you've got a graph here, 0, 40, 100 miles driven, $50, 200 miles driven, $60, 300 miles driven, $70, 400 miles driven, $80, and 500 at $90. So I'm not going to put this line in here, but that's the way it is. So if you look at this section right here, okay, you're going to see the y-intercept. The y-intercept is at 40. So RB is 40. But let's first talk about the slope. The slope in this case, so just a kind of a note there, if whenever you see these graphs, look for your y-intercept. If that's given to you, let's just write it down, b is equal to 40. Number 14 asks, find and interpret the slope of the graph. Okay, we already know how to find slope, but if you look at these, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points that are on this line. And you could pick just 2 of them. I'm going to pick the intercept, 0, 40. And I'm also going to pick the second line, 100, 50. Okay, I just picked a couple points. Now with our skill here, we're going to take and we're going to determine the slope of that little line there. So 50 minus 40 would be the y, difference in the y's. And 100 minus 0 would be 100. Okay, so you can see that our slope in this case is 50 minus 40, which is 10, divided by 100, which is equal to 1/10. So the slope in this case is 1/10. So what does that mean for number 14? Number 14 means that you're going to have a $1 cost, $1 per 10 miles of driving, 10 miles. So the rate, 1/10, is $1. Remember, it's always the y on top on slope. The y in this case cost $1 per 10 miles driven. $15, write an equation of the line of the graph. Write an equation of the line of the graph. So this is fairly quick here. What you're going to do is take your y and equals mx plus b. Your m is 1/10. And your b is 40. And there's your equation. Number 16, what would the cost of renting after 800 miles? So in this case, we're asking for, if you pulled this graph out further, out to 800, but we have this nice equation now, we're going to use that to determine what the cost would be. 1/10 times x. Now this x is going to be 800 plus your 40 for your intercept. So 800 divided by 10 is 80 plus 40 equals $120 for $800. And that would be number 16. All right, so that was page 3, kind of involved. Let's move right into the last page and see if we can finish up quickly here. The last page has to deal with parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Okay, so this is fairly quick. We're going to find the perpendicular lines, parallel lines first, and that involves finding the slope of every single line, A, B, and C. And it seems like we have the slope for A is 5/3, 5/3. The slope of B is 1, 2, 3, 4/3. And the slope for C is 1, 2, 3, 4/3. So the two lines that are parallel have the same slope, which would be B and C would be your answer for 17. We kind of do the same thing for 18, which is we have to find the slope of these lines. The slope of A will equal -2 Okay, for number 18, what we have here is they ask which lines are perpendicular. So what you're going to be looking for is opposite reciprocals of each other. So when you're given this question, you're going to first want to identify each and every slope of line A, B, and C. So the slope of A, as you can see, is -1/2. So you go down to over 1, 2, 3, 4. So down 2 over 4 is -2/4, which is equal to -1/2. Line B goes down 2 and over 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes also down 2 units and over 4, which is also -1/2. So these happen to be parallel. So if this one is a +2, which if you look at this, you got 1, 2, 3, rise of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your slope is equal to 6/3, which is equal to 2. So your choices here would be A and C would be perpendicular, opposite reciprocals, or B and C. B and C. The last two, they ask you, number 19, write in point slope form an equation of the line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. Point slope form as follows. Y minus y1 is equal to the slope times x minus x of 1. So in this case, you're given the slope and you're given a point. So this point is x1, y1. And here's the slope of 5/3. So your answer would be y minus the y, which is 3, is equal to the slope, 5/3, times the quantity x minus the x, which is 3. And I'll circle my answer on that one also. And number 20 for the Unit 2 Practice Test Study Guide. Write in point slope form, write in slope intercept form an equation line that passes through the given point. Okay, so this is very similar to page 3. Numbers 11, 12, and 13. So this is kind of thrown at the end. So write in slope intercept form an equation line that passes through the given points. So we're going to need to find the slope. 6 minus 4 divided by 3 minus 2. So that slope is 2. And then what you're going to need to do is you're going to write it in slope intercept form. So we're going to start with our y minus the y of 1, which is this point slope, times the slope times x minus x1. So we're going to start with the point slope form and then do our conversion for our slope intercept form. Y minus the y, and I'll pick this first one again. I'll use these, x1 is 2, y1 is 4. So y minus 4 is equal to the slope, which is found to be 2, times x minus the x, which is 2. Okay, now we're going to switch over to slope intercept form by using our distributive property first. Y minus 4 is equal to 2x minus 4. Then we're going to add 4 to both sides. For our final answer, y is equal to 2x. So again, if you have this question on the final test, you're first going to start by obtaining the slope, then using point slope form to get the equation started and convert it to slope intercept. That concludes the unit test practice test study guide. Take a good solid look at it, fill it all out, ask questions if you have any. I am looking forward to helping you if you have any questions, and have a great day.